Thanks for tuning in to the Mission Matters podcast, where we feature successful, mission-driven leaders committed to creating a positive change in the world. Our mission with this channel is to inspire other leaders by providing industry insights, new ideas, and inspiring stories from the pros.
Alrighty, hello everyone. Paul Feith, host of this show where I interview leaders heading up mission-focused organizations, always leading from the heart, making a difference in their communities and inspiring others, especially myself. And that's why I do this. Episode sponsored by Gregory Media, a B Corporation, certified B Corporation, actually. So to learn more about what a certified B Corporation is and what Gregory Media does, please visit paulgregorymedia.com. I have with me someone who's in charge of an organization where my children pretty much grew up. And then I'm just very excited to talk with her. Her name is Andrea Ingram, and she is an experienced lawyer, public policy advocate, social service agency executive, and cultural institution. Say that.
It's a lot of words.
Yeah. Cultural institution thought leader. I got that. Right? And for the last 4.5 years, she's been at the DuPage Children's Museum, where my kids spent a lot of time there. So welcome, Andrea. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah. So well, let's go back before the 4.5 years.
Sure.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you, your journey, what led you to the DuPage Children's Museum?
Yeah. Well, you don't think that that first sentence of yours summed it all up? It's like,
a little bit.
There's a lot of stuff in there, but I can tell you that the thread for me has always been about social justice and access and opportunity, which is kind of a strange thing to come out of the mouth of the leader of what I really get to do on a day-to-day basis is 100% joy. And it's like your kids coming here and visiting, that is so much fun. But for me, what I bring to it is just a real passion for access and inclusion, and a recognition that being an advocate in the context of running a business, particularly running a cultural institution, provides the opportunity to align resources, to make resources available to all of our kids. And that is a huge step in the right direction of access and inclusion. It's about equity. It's about being thoughtful about overcoming barriers, because all the things that your kids experienced here, not only are they a joyful blast, they're massively impactful on their development as little human beings. And we're with them and their families on that journey from the beginning. So that's how I got from being a lawyer, getting those advocacy skills, to becoming immersed in the Illinois network of people who work to support children and their families to ensure they get access to the resources they need. So that journey has taken me from a law firm to the Department of Children and Family Services, the Museum of Science and Industry, and now to this fabulous, iconic institution here in Naperville, Illinois.
Well, they've been kind of all iconic institutions, right? Museum of Science and Industry is not any small bit, right?
No, it's not. And it's a real, that is a real privilege. And what we're doing here, to me, it's all one vision. It's just like, for me, it's about creating access and opportunity to the great stuff, whatever that is. So the systems and programs that we were able to invest in at MSI, and the teams were able to explore how to best connect with children where they are in communities and families, and then proactively engage them when they came into the museum. Those exact same principles and what make that works here as well, except for here we have the fun of thinking more broadly about how do you make sure that access to the great stuff, the things that are happening here, but the things that we can support happening wherever children are accessible to our kids in our urban communities, our rural communities, and our suburban communities. So what we're really doing is taking that, taking what it means for a cultural institution to be the nimble player in a community that can be community focused, to really leverage its resources, what it does well, to support kids thriving wherever they are.
And you may be doing that a little too well. So I'm going to ask you, just between me and you, is it wrong that I enjoy the hula hoop bubbles more than my kids?
There's never any wrong in joy.
Right.
No
Right.
wrong there. And
I
in
did not
fact,
feel guilty about it.
that's a huge part of what it, and I say that, I mean, I joke around about joy. I mean, who doesn't want to be in a business where what I get to stress about is everybody having enough joy? That's a good thing. But the reality is that a big part of how children learn, they need to be open. They need to be intrinsically motivated to explore. I mean, that's what kids do. And a critical part of that is that social emotional part, that relationship with their adults, whoever they are, and being able to nurture that trusting, positive relationship where you're playing alongside them. Our work is as much about positioning adults to be, to be successful supporters of their little ones, as it is the little ones directly. And this might sound like I'm trying to be too cool, but I'm way too old and past that. But I gotta say, I've been listening to Cowboy Carter, and one of the songs is about, I want to be your projector. I want to be your protector. I want to be your projector, so that when you, when you're shining as a child, the parent is going to project all that enthusiasm and support you during your moment to shine. So that's what we do. That's what we do.
I like that. I like that analogy. Well, let's go into DuPage Children's Museum's programs, because there may be some listeners out there that really don't know. Maybe there's one or two people that haven't stepped foot in that museum, and that will be a shame. But for those two people, maybe explain.
Yeah. Well, we got to change that.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things, we talked a little bit before we started about the pandemic and what role it may have played in my kind of onboarding into leadership here. And I'd say that, what we're trying to accomplish always starts and finishes with our vision. And our vision is about ensuring that all children have access to extraordinary experiences. So why do I bring that up? Because during the pandemic, one of the things that we had the privilege of leaning into was understanding what are the strategies and how can we support reaching that vision in a way that's not dependent on our building. And so that allowed us to spend, it forced us in a really positive way, spend a lot of time with our partners. And by partners, I mean, anybody who is spending time with children and supporting their development. So that's parents, it's families, it's caregivers, it's educators, it's anybody who is serving children. So we spent a lot of time talking to those stakeholders and understanding how we could bring to kids the joy that they could experience here. So before I share exactly how that program works, because we brought up MSI, I'm going to bring up a key tidbit here of data that has driven my approach to this and approach my team, which is the museums in Chicago are required to have 52 free days a year, right? Lots of people know that. So 52 free days. I was privileged to have a research and evaluation team at MSI who spent a great deal of time, did surveys, visitor study surveys, understanding who was coming to the museum. Time after time, when we looked at the demographic data of the people who were paying to come through the front door and the people who were coming on free days, they were demographically identical in income, in race, in gender. They were demographically identical. So what does that tell us? It tells us that whereas we know, we're not going to say that money isn't important, Money is a barrier, but it's not the only barrier that keeps people from going to museums and other cultural institutions. I really believe, and I believe that the programming that we've developed really shows that families who have a relationship with you already, that you can develop a sense of belonging with before they come here, are more likely to come here. And so what we have done is develop a very scalable strategy to begin our relationship with children and their families where they already are. So our DCM Wonder Clubs, it is, we develop the curriculum. I have fabulous creative team of people who have been developing fun, joyful science, engineering, art programming for years, but then also for years been in a position to train other adults to deliver it. So we partner with the YMCA. We're in every Safe and Sound program in District 203. We're partnering with Valley View School District and all of their 21st century programming. We're partnering with DuPage Pads. We're partnering with the Aurora Public Libraries. So we can partner with anybody that's with kids, Lurie's Children's Hospital, Comer Children's Hospital. And what that does is it makes us present where the kids are. It empowers the adults around them to deliver fun, accessible, joyful experiences where the kids are, but also it develops that connection back to us. So, you know, if I handed you a coupon to a restaurant that was 40 miles away, you'd never been there, you didn't know me, but I said, hey, trust me, it's good, go. You know, the chances you're going to go are, it doesn't matter if it's 50% off. The chances that you're going to go through the effort and go are very minimal. If, however, your best friend had been there, had a great experience, came back with all these fabulous stories about how their family had this wonderful time, then came up and talked to you and said, hey, we had this great experience, here's a coupon, then you're going to go. Then you're going to go. There has to be a connection. There has to be a relationship. There has to be awareness. So right now we're supporting 300 Wonder Clubs across the state. We have Boys and Girls Clubs in Peoria who are delivering our curriculum, the Illinois Children's Museum in Decatur. There's the school district in McLean County, and all of these are surrounding us. So what's that mean? Not only are the kids getting great stuff from the people they trust and are already with, they're developing a connection to us. And that's one of the core reasons that as we come out of the pandemic, we've seen incredible numbers, not just in that work itself, which is highly important, but also in the folks that are coming through our door, in the diversity and demographics of those families is showing up.
Very interesting, because you've taken the pandemic and figured out a way, which in any business, right? Referral is key, right? And you've figured out a way to build that relationship, which not every business mind out there comes to terms with. And you've kind of figured that out to say, okay, let's develop a relationship with the child and the family first, and the benefits will then, of course, follow.
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, the principles that work in a business are true, regardless of what it is that, you know, it is that you're delivering for your community or your customers or your guests in our case. Humans get authenticity. They get when they are welcomed. They get when they matter. They get when an organization is making decisions that not only suggest, but demonstrate that you as individuals matter to us. And that's part of what we try to infuse in everything that we do from the moment we have an encounter with kids and their families.
That's awesome. That's very awesome. The Wonder Clubs. So besides the Wonder Clubs, which is sort of like the entry point into that relationship. What programs at the actual museum would you like to talk about?
Well, we have, so when you come to the museum, I mean, in addition to all the Wonder Clubs, we also do a lot of learning labs, some of them here at the museum, many of them out at school districts. We have lots and lots of birthday parties here. There's always a lot of fun going on. And then, of course, we have a lot of programming that's available to all of our guests, all of our members and our general mission guests. Whether it's story time, and we will have that in different languages. We had a Polish story time not too long ago. We have tiny great performances where we might have some performers from a local ballet company come in, and the kids get an up close and personal experience with that. But then we also, in the summer, we have big public events like Mess Fest and the Transportation Zoo, and then, of course, Boo Bash, and things that bring us together as a community and allow us to have shared large-scale experiences.
Nice. And is there any exhibit that you that's new there that you'd like to promote? Because this will probably be airing around May.
Yeah, we've got a number of great things. Two new things in particular that we opened up this spring. One, we opened our Wonder Room. Our Wonder Room, we have been executing on a number of strategies to ensure that, again, all of our audiences recognize that they are welcome here. And so that means, in particular, audiences or families that have children who may have some additional challenges or opportunities in their lives, whether it's cognitive or some other developmental delays, autism, or if it's a medical need. So we've done a couple of things. The Wonder Room is one of those outcomes. So we have broadened up our membership program so that we have an access membership where for $25, you and your family can come for the year. You can qualify based on income, whether you're in a program that is state or federally supported. But now you can also participate if your child has an individual education plan, an IEP, or a 504 plan, which is a medical plan for school, or is involved in early intervention. So if you hit that qualification, you can also get the $25 membership. And so then it means when you get here, are you going to find safe, quiet places for your child and your family to decompress when necessary? So in addition to having a quiet room, we just developed this Wonder Room, which is just a peaceful, calm environment with gentle music and visuals and beautiful woodwork and manipulative toys, where you walk in there and you just want to sit. And I'm speaking personally now. You just want to go in there and sit and breathe deeply for a while. So creating a space so that kids of all abilities can decompress and quiet down. We also have adaptive play nights that is also specifically serving that audience. And I got to say, since we changed that membership metric, our memberships have gone through the roof. We have more members than we ever had, including pre-pandemic for sure.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's a great lesson too. Just switching back from the DuPage Children's Museum to you for a moment, you've had a lot of experience that led you up to this. Is there any challenges that you've overcame that you're particularly proud of? I mean, the pandemic is huge, right? The Wonder Clubs.
Sure, but I'm going to take it back to, to more developing as a professional. And I got to say that that's one of my greatest pleasures in being a leader is in supporting others in reaching their own potential and nurturing their positive experiences and their traits and talents in a way that allows them to be successful. And so, of course, a lot of that comes from my own learning and where I needed to adapt in order to be effective in a leadership role. And I would say that, from the funny, which is when I first went from practicing law, being a business litigator, to trying to become immersed in policy, so in children's health care and in other sorts of early learning kind of supports and income supports. I remember the first time I was walking into a meeting with the guy I worked for and mentored, Jerry Sturmer, who ran Voices for Illinois Children. And I was like, I didn't even know how a meeting could possibly be run without rules. How do you know when to talk? It's not a deposition. So I had a lot of practical things I needed to overcome. But I would say the one thing that everybody needs to work on is you go as a young professional through a phase of proving yourself, and trying to show how you're added value. And at some point during your development as a professional, it has to become not about you. It has to become about the vision. It has to become about the other people in the organization. And I think that shift is something that that I think young professionals and need to have their eyes open to. That at some point you need to recognize when you can take that deep breath, have confidence and faith in what you're bringing to the table, so that you can warmly embrace all the talents and competencies of the humans around you. Because I guarantee you, whereas I know I had a little something to do with the impact strategies we've created, I'm not a science educator. I'm not an early learning professional. I'm not a scientist. But the people around me are, and they're fabulous at it. We all have to look at what are the competencies we bring, and how do we nurture the things that the people around us do really well and empower them authentically with the agency to execute. Same stuff we need to be doing with our kids. Same things. Bring that inside, do it with your kids.
It's kind of like the first time I've heard that articulated from a business sense in that transitionary period, right? Where you're proving yourself at first. We all do it, right? We all start our careers. Yep. We all try to prove ourselves while we're learning at such a huge pace. But then there does come a point, and I can say this after being 18 years in this business, there does come a point where you take the focus off of yourself and put it on the work and the mission and the organization, and surround yourself with really, really talented people. So that's a great lesson.
Yeah, well, and it might be the first time I've articulated that as well. But it really is about, you have to believe that it does take a village. It's not design thinking, problem solving is about getting the best out of everybody around you, around in the team. That it is never the result of one person sitting alone in their room. And if it was, then you're going to have some really serious change management issues as well. So you have to acknowledge that there are so many good ideas out there that you're not even aware of. And so many life experiences that people have had that you haven't, but that you still have a really creative, important role in pulling those things out and ensuring that there is a strategic map to get from those things to the vision that you're trying to accomplish.
Awesome. Well, thanks. I just have one more question for you to wrap up, Andrea, because you said it all. Um, and I love the takeaways here, especially. Any parting thoughts for our guests?
I'm going to reflect back on something I said at the top, because it's not a mistake that I said at the top, because it's something I say frequently, which is everything has to begin and end with a vision. And that includes developing a culture within your organization that collectively owns the vision. Vision shouldn't be something that's on a piece of paper and a binder on your shelf. It should be something that everybody in your organization understands what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then you can get to the details of what does that mean in everybody's work life. But honestly, you can't reach a vision without the folks in the accounting office understanding what it is that we're trying to accomplish, or your HR team, any more than the people on the floor of this museum or in front of any business. They are executing on your vision. They are executing on your brand in every interaction they're doing. So that means that A, vision must lead, and B, I'm working this one in because it was always one of my favorites. You cannot positively engage guests and customers of any type if you do not have positively engaged employees, which is why your vision needs to be owned by everybody, and everybody needs to be empowered by an understanding that they matter, and what they do on a daily basis matters in executing towards that vision. So vision and people is 100% of the difference between sitting in a room and getting nothing done and sitting in a room and reaching a vision that every child has access to extraordinary learning experiences.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like the Richard Branson way of doing things. So, there's that old adage that customer's always right. And he's like, well, I'm going to support my employees, number one, because they're the ones that are interacting with our customers. And if I support them, then they're going to carry our vision through. And you look at any successful company, they do have that vision in the back of their minds.
Oh, absolutely. And there is when you say, because I've pondered this a lot, because you're guest, you got to be guest focused, you got to be customer focused, but you have to understand what that means. And when you put it in a paradigm of right and wrong, who's right and wrong, you get away from the conversation that brings people together. So it's not that the customer is always right per se. Right. It's that you're meeting the customer where they are, and you're de-escalating them, and you're connecting them to what you're offering in a way that works for them. That's meeting your customer where they are. It's not about right and wrong, but to do that, you've got to have your employees back, and you have to have your employees understanding what it is fundamentally, why they're doing what they're doing, and hopefully, and hire the people that are going to be passionate about it and support and manage them to it. It doesn't just happen.
Yeah. And thank you for calling me out on that, because you're right. You can't be a binary choice on customers right or wrong. I like what you said about meeting them where they're at. It's
it's interesting because I didn't mean to call you out on it. Sorry. I just,
it wasn't me.
I've always struggled with how do I respond to that? Because you do have to have that positive experience, but it's the binary that ends up making it a conflict.
Well, anybody who's in hospitality or customer service understands that, right? And it's those people that are dealing with customers, clients, whatever. They have to be empowered and supported by their management team. So very well put. Very well put. Thank you. You've said it all. Thank you for being on the show. I think there's a couple of really great takeaways. I've learned certainly some things today as well. So thanks for joining us.
A real privilege. Really a pleasure to sit and talk with you. So anytime. Take care.
All right. Till next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Mission Matters podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.